In this video, I'm going to share with you the top 3 rules for grading sports cards. And grading sports cards single-handedly paid for my university at Rutgers University. And my name is Erica Michael. I've sold over $5 million in sports cards very profitably. And I make these videos to help other people get into the world of sports cards and have it change their life like it did for me. So let's get into it. So there are 3 fundamental rules I go by when I'm grading sports cards. And if you don't know what grading sports cards is, what grading sports cards is, you could buy a card of, let's say, Will Levis for $100. And what you could do is send that card in to get graded. What grading means is you send it into a company and they assess it based on its quality. And if the card is in clean, good condition, the card will grade a 10. If the card grades a 10, depending on the card, you can double, triple, quadruple your money. It takes about a few weeks to a month, maybe sometimes a little bit more to get these cards back from grading. It's the only business I know of where you can take an asset and within a few weeks or a month, double, triple, or quadruple your money. It's similar to real estate, except there's no mortgage, there's no loans, you don't have to wait 6, 7, 8, 9 months to flip a house. It's very simple and straightforward. So it's the same concept as real estate. Buy low, fix it up, sell it, except it's with sports cards. Instead of a gigantic house, these are little sports cards and they're much just easier to buy and sell as opposed to real estate. But let's get into it. So the first rule I have for grading sports cards, and this is a very simple rule, make sure the card is in good condition. And there's 4 pieces of criteria when it comes to grading cards. So there's 4 pieces of criteria that assess the quality of the card. The corners, the edges, the centering, and the surface. And sometimes you can get the autograph graded as well, but I'll save that for another video. So the corners, edges, centering, and surface. Now, PSA, which is the main company I use and my students use to get cards graded, the most important thing they care about is what seems to me is the corners, okay? So I've graded cards that have got a 10 that have been a little bit off-centered, or the edges might be messed up a little bit, or maybe a tiny little dimple on the card. But the corners are the most important part when it comes into sending cards in for grading to PSA. As opposed to another grading company, like a second-tier grading company like Beckett, they care about the centering a little bit more. And you could get away with a little bit rougher corners, okay? So when I'm buying a card, I really look at the corners because it's just super important with PSA. I don't know why, but they care about the corners the most, but not centering, not as much. So general rule, and I'll go to my computer and show you guys, is you can have the centering off by like 60%, 40%, left to right or bottom top, but the corners really need to be sharp. If the corners aren't sharp, the card most likely will not grade a 10. So that's the first piece. Make sure the corners, edges, centering, and surface are all in excellent condition, specifically the corners. That's number 1. Number 2, we need to make sure we are gonna make money. And this is like the most common mistake people make when it comes to grading cards. There are certain cards out there that you could buy for $100, and as a PSA 10 it sells for $170, right? On the surface that sounds great. Oh, I could buy a card for $100, resell it for $170, except there are fees and costs involved when it comes to grading, right? If you buy a card for $100, let's do the math. It's gonna cost you about $20 to get the card graded, and shipping might be $10 to $20. And when you sell the card, no one's gonna give you $170. You're probably gonna need to sell it a little bit under to at like $160, $155. So at the end of the day, you'll make $5, $10, $15. Is that worth all that effort to make $10, $15? Probably not. So my standard rule of thumb is you want to at least double your money when it comes to grading cards. And when I say double your money, I mean double your money at the end of everything after fees, grading costs, shipping, everything. You want to make sure you can come close or double your money. The beautiful thing about sports cards, which is not the beautiful thing about real estate, is you can see what the card's gonna sell for when it grades a 10. When you buy a card, you can look, okay, this card's $80 right now, and a 10 is like $230. Well, let's do the math. $230 minus $10 for shipping, $10 fee, 10% fee, then I'm gonna have to discount it when I grade it and knock it down. Okay, at the end of the day, I could at least double my money. So look ahead into the future and ask yourself, can I at least double my money, right? Use the comps or use recent sales to your advantage. It's a beautiful thing about sports cards. You could buy these little things, get them graded, make money on it, and you can literally see how much money you can make, which brings me into my third rule, which is timing. Okay, this is like also just super important. Honestly, these are all equally as important, because if you don't do all these three correct, it's probably not going to go well for you. But timing, right? Sit back and think about this for a second. If you buy a card, and let's say it's, I don't know, a football card of Will Levis, right? And it's gonna sit at the grading company. And usually grading a sports card, it's random. It could take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. I've seen it take 2 months. I've seen it take 3 weeks. It depends on the service level you use, and there's a couple different factors. But let's pretend it's gonna take 6 weeks for this card to get back from grading. You wanna be buying an asset that has a high chance of appreciating while it's sitting at the grading company, right? If the asset is gonna be away from you for 6 weeks, don't you wanna buy something that has a high chance of going up rather than down? And timing the market is super crucial. So just a general rule of thumb that I use, when a season starts, you want none of that card on you. So when football starts, you want no football cards on you. Why? Because not all, but most football cards are gonna go down in value, right? Most players just don't live up to the hype. It's how it goes. However, you could buy football in May and June, send cards and get graded, and as the season gets closer, these players go up in value because people get excited, their training camp starts, because you have to remember, the average person, 95% of people in sports cards, are that average collector that might think, oh, I think Bryce Young is going to be amazing, so let me buy his cards now and sell him into the future when he's a good player. Most people are long-term holders or long-term investors when it comes to sports cards. What I do for the most part, not all, but most, is day trading, right? Day trading or quick flipping, right? I turn sports cards into a predictable, sustainable business. So, going back to what I was saying, if you buy football cards in May and June, and just to use a good example, like someone who I've talked about in a bunch of videos a few months ago, Sam Howell. I knew based on a bunch of different factors, Sam Howell had a good chance of going up in value. If you bought a bunch of Sam Howell cards to get graded in May and June, and these cards are coming back to you in July and August, Sam Howell, while I'm speaking right now, played one preseason game. He played well, and I promise you this is true, his value has almost doubled. His PSA 10 contenders was about $150, $160 a few months ago. Now it's like $230, $240, $250. Why? Because people just get excited. That's just how sports cards works. So you want to be timing the market. You want to be doing your best to say, okay, this card is going to be sitting at this grading company for 6 weeks. What can I buy that has a high chance of appreciating predictably? And the rule I use when it comes to timing the market is I want none of that card on me, and I want to sell it a month or two before the preseason. So like basketball, for example, I try to buy basketball in like August, July, September, and sell it in October right before the season starts. Baseball, same thing. I try to buy baseball in November, December, January, and I sell it in preseason in February and March, and I get rid of all of it before the season starts. And then I invest into football. I buy football through March and April and May and June and July, and then I do the same thing, and it's like a revolving door, right? So you want to be timing the market. So those are the big 3 rules. Make sure the card's in good condition. You want to at least, while you're buying the card, look at the sales and make sure you could at least double your money, and you want to be timing the market correctly. But let's go to my computer. I'm going to show you exactly how this is done. If you're enjoying the content of the video and want to learn how to make a side income with sports cards, I spent the past 3 months putting together a training to show you exactly how it's done in detail. Sports cards has allowed me to live a life beyond my wildest imagination, and I'm thankful for the hobby every single day. That is the reason I teach sports cards, and I'm so passionate about it. At the end of the training, we offer a paid program where you can work closer with me. However, I do not want you joining until you've watched the training I put together. It will show you exactly what's inside the program and how to make money with sports cards, and from there, you can make an educated decision. If you'd like to sign up for the training, either scan the QR code on the screen or text the word Eric to 973-755-9486, or click the link in the description. Just to repeat it, if you'd like to sign up and watch the training, scan the QR code or text Eric to 973-755-9486, or click that link in the description. Now let's get back to the video. All right, so let's see what this looks like in real life or on the computer for a second. So I put the 3 rules here, right? We want to make sure the card's in good condition. We want to at least be doubling our money after everything. and we want to be timing the market, okay? So these are the big 3 rules for grading sports cards. So let's head over to eBay and see what is up. So let's type in like 2023. I know this card's good because I've been looking at it. Let's take a look at this card, right? While I'm speaking right now, it's August, okay? August, most basketball is beginning to pick up a little bit of steam, but if I could buy basketball now and sell it in late September, October, not every guy's going to go up in value, but a lot will. And most guys will not go down in value unless they, God forbid, get hurt. So Victor Wembanyama, in my opinion, is a good buy. I've actually been buying him since July and August. And I'll show you guys something cool. So check this out. This is an app called Market Movers, and you could look at Victor Wembanyama. So I look at a Silver Prism PSA 10 because this is a very common liquid card sold. And this is what I do to kind of see like how to time the market. This is very helpful for point number 3 here. So you could see his cards came out in like March and February. They start out high, go down, 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 and then they begin to flatline, right? So this is when I was buying Wembanyama in May and June, and the Olympics happened. They also picked up Chris Paul. So if you look in the past 60 days, you can see his value is actually going up, okay? And it should, as we get closer to the basketball season, maybe it won't go up anymore, but it's not going to go down. So I'm putting myself in a good position to make money. So this is a solid card of Victor Wembanyama. Optic Hollow, these cards, what you have to look out for is the surface and the corners. So like going back to this point, right, corners, edges, centering, and surface, that's what we want to be looking for. So let's take a look. So the centering, right, the left border and the right border on this card seem pretty good. The top and the bottom seem about even. Maybe the top's a little bit bigger than the bottom. But these cards, it's the corners that are going to get you. Because these corners are blue and they're colored, they're going to get chipped easier as opposed to if the corners are white. So this card, this corner looks a little bit dinged up. I would need a better picture of this. But what I would do is open up another tab and look, okay, let's see what this card actually sells for. Can I at least double my money? So Optic Hollow 2023, Victor Wembanyama, and let's see what this card actually sells for. So let's do minimum $100 so it only shows us the card we're looking for. So let's take a look. So this card you can see sells for like $266, $271, not graded, $280, $315. So it's like high twos. Then this one is probably in bad condition. That's why it sold for low. And as a 10, it sells for $600 and $720. Let's see what some other 10s sell for. So $600, $720, $660. So if I could buy this card for $280, let's do the math. Actually, I'll show you guys something cool. All right, so check this out. This is a little spreadsheet I put together. It has a little mini formula in it, and it'll actually tell you if you need to double your money, what you need to sell the card for. So like, let's go back to this Victor Wembanyama, for example, and let's say I need to buy this card. Let's say I want to buy this card for $250. Right, let's say I can get it for $250. Let's say grading costs $20, right? So the total cost would be $270, right? And then it'll just populate right here. This is what you need to sell the card for at the end of the day if you buy this card for $250, right? So this is basically just telling you what it needs to do to double your money. So long story short, just make sure you can double your money. And, this card's selling for like $600 to $700. I'm pretty certain I can get $540 for this card. But on the flip side, right, you don't want to be buying a card. Like if this Wembanyama is only selling for $500 as a 10, it wouldn't be worth it, right? You could still make some money, but there's something called opportunity cost, right? And you could put your money in a better situation than, putting it in something where you can only make 20, 30%, right? So hopefully this makes sense, and let's head back to the camera. Hopefully that made sense, and I would say the biggest thing out of what I just showed you is opportunity cost, like I was talking about there at the end. You want to put your money in the best possible situation to make money, right? Because there's all sorts of opportunities out there, and by you putting your money in something that only makes you $100 versus if you could have put your money in something that could have made you $200, well, you're costing yourself $100, okay? So if you know how to evaluate the condition of a card, time the market, and make sure you're doubling your money. I've been using these rules for years and years and years, and you'll do very well with sports cards, and it's a very predictable, systematic way to make an extra few grand a month. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM, comment below. I'll see you guys in the next one.